So a thing that I've been thinking about a lot lately and some of my other videos, which I highly recommend you check out, is this idea of like what does it look like where we have a world that has a billion creators. Now, right now, it's probably in the millions, right? Multi millions of people who are trying to make it in some area of content creation. We have like Hollywood, Bollywood, Korea, Soullywood, or whatever we call it. Korea's TV, film ecosystem, and what we have in Europe and everywhere. We've got those like film and TV ecosystems. And then we've got the creator economy, we've got YouTube, we've got streamers, then we've got musicians, Spotify, we've got artists and designers. There's this massive ecosystem of creatives. And frankly, of the millions of people who try to make it in the creative industry, it's the, let's say, top 10 or even more likely the top 1 to 0.1% of people who actually make a living out of it. And everybody else is kind of trying or barely scraping by or making less than minimum wage, making creative content. And it's tough, right? It's I watch a lot of like digital art creators. How do they make it? They have to do a lot of marketing. They have to be out there, community building, not just doing the creative. And it's a weird dynamic. And of course, it's why we see in the film industry, there's like the unions and there's all that kind of activity of people trying to protect, what they are making, what their creative is, their high value creative. But then we have this larger ecosystem of creative that is still, frankly, it's tough, right? I mean, I think it was Katy Perry or one of these musicians who was saying that they make more money on OnlyFans than they do on Spotify. And so that's the reality, right? We have this weird universe where people are wanting to be creative and not making money off of that. And that's converging with this world that AI is presumably, this train of thought that I've been having is like, what does a billion creatives look like? People who are pursuing creative things are being creative themselves. Maybe it's casual, right? And so a few new friends put this video onto me of the CEO or founder of Suno, which is a is an AI music tool, right? If you haven't played with it, it's pretty interesting. It's suno.ai or suno.com. And, you jump in here and actually they just dropped V4, the version 4, so kind of apt. But in any case, you can jump into here, you can click on create, and you can essentially just prompt like songs, right? Like, let's say, or like rap song. I could even, prompt something as little as that and it will create a song for me, right? And that will all populate right here within less than like 3 minutes, which is pretty cool. So this interview with the Suno founder is pretty interesting because, he talks about what he thinks is the future of AI creativity, right? And what does that look like? He's also talking with Anna Veronica Dorogush. I'm not sure if I get that right, but the CEO and founder of Recraft.ai, which is an image generator. And we're not going to focus on her interview part of it, although it's really interesting. And she talks about like, what is the future of professional AI design? And maybe we'll, have some time to jump into that. But I've been on this train of like casual and consumer creators, and Mikey kind of speaks to that really well and kind of his perspective from the music perspective. So let's jump into, I got like 3 clips from here. We'll jump to them and I'll just react and see. I'd love to hear also what you guys think of this if you do end up finding me, even though I'm a new creator, so you might not see my content out there. So let's jump into Mikey. This is his first quote that I really like.
And Mikey, for Suno, I guess a little bit different with the consumer use. How do users access Suno, and what is that like today to use Suno?
Yeah, it's I think I'll just pick up on something that Anna said. It's like it shouldn't like be kind of earth-shattering to say it should be fun to practice your craft, and it should be fun to make music. And just like I actually think the most fun I have ever had in this life is making music with my friends, and that is something that you can bring to people. Actually, I would say right now we're like woefully inadequate in the, for lack of a better word, multiplayer version of this thing, where you should be doing it more with your friends and your loved ones. Right now, people can.
So I think that's one thing that I think is interesting here, that of course he's kind of on the same train as I am, thinking about how creators are, potential, the casual creator market. And then he jumps into like, can this really be like an interactive multiplayer family experience where I can like sit there maybe with my computer or my phone with my family, and in 10, 20 minutes, I'm creating a song that we can all listen to. And by the way, let's jump back to that song that I just created. So all I did was type in rap song, and this is what it came out. So I made the beat. It even came up with like with all the rhymes and everything. So of course it takes a lot of work to get some really good work out of this. You kind of have to, you have to push it and, describe more in detail what you want, but very fast, right? Stacking paper, skyscraper, ain't no faker. There you go. So that gives you a sense, and of course they have different models, and I'm currently using V3.5. Anyway, I think this multiplayer aspect, imagine that me doing this is happening with like my family, and we're like coming up with lyrics. We're talking about, maybe our history together, maybe some certain moments, and we're turning that all into video, or sorry, into audio and a song that represents us. That's kind of cool, right? It could represent us as a family, as opposed to maybe it taking more time for me to sit with the piano or a guitar and playing around until I get the right one. And I maybe don't have the expertise to do that, right? Even though our family is pretty musical, this is faster, obviously, and maybe more fun, and you get to get that kind of instant, feedback of what the AI thinks would be a good song right away.
Basically make songs by either describing the sounds, inputting their own lyrics, or actually inputting their own sounds kind of from their day-to-day. We have like a lot of cool stuff now where you can just turn on the microphone on your phone or on your laptop and record something, and that kind of is used to inspire the model. I think, this is a big shift in a lot of ways. Most music is created only in service of that final product of the song. It doesn't matter how painful that process might be. A lot of the modern tooling, which is very powerful, is a pain in the butt to use. And if you make it fun, a lot more people will want to do it.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So you view a future where the apps itself that you're building becomes a lot more social, inherently how you use it with other people.
Music is a conversation, right?
Yeah,
and so you can't remove the people from music. It's not even just one person. Music is multiple people.
It's interesting that you said also you're kind of like, giving that experience of the fun that you've experienced to making music to more people. Like how broad do you think that can go? Like, is that something, what are you seeing for people who maybe didn't make music before being able to access this?
The user base is extremely broad, geographically, demographically. So I think something I've only really understood recently is that I think humans are just hardwired to want to do this, and this is something that we should lean into. And so like, there should be 1 billion people doing this. I think
a billion?
It's not unreasonable.
A billion?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
I would say to everyone, like, go use Suno, make a song. If you have kids, go make a song with your kids. And this will be an experience that you will never forget, and you will both be smiling and on the floor laughing. And hopefully you'll revisit that song too.
So I think this is kind of interesting, right? Like, he has this different perspective on what is fun, right? And he says fun multiple times here, and he says, go hang out with your family, hang out with your kids and make a song with your kids. I think that's pretty compelling, right? Like, imagine being in your living room, instead of, you're having your kids watch TV and they're kind of, disappearing into the television for an hour or two. Instead, you're having them interact with an AI that can have fun. And he, just like me, he's thinking, like, what does it look like for 1 billion? He thinks that it's going to be 1 billion. Now, of course, he's incentivized as a venture-backed company and founder of a company that would highly benefit from 1 billion people adopting his platform. So that is definitely a reality. I mean, I don't see a scenario necessarily where, just like we have 1 billion, 4 or 5 billion, 6 billion smartphones on Earth, whether, that same demographic of people is going to start picking up, making songs on the fly. I don't know. Maybe that's going to happen. Maybe it's very casual and it doesn't happen that often. And what does it look like in a world where, billions of people are making songs all the time? And what is that interaction with, with existing music, and how does that influence existing music? I have no idea, right?
That's actually also true for.
And so I think what's interesting here for me is just that perspective, and kind of that caveat on what he's doing, right, and what he's thinking about this space, because obviously he's biased, and he thinks that, that's a reality that he wants to see happen. Now, here's another clip that he kind of digs more into another perspective on this.
Suno.
Yeah, it's been, we've shared that, over 10 million people have used it and enjoyed it. What's been surprising, a lot's been surprising. I think maybe two things in particular. One is just how disparate the use cases are with the same tool. There's like a lot of very casual use of like, let me quickly make a song about being on a creativity panel, and then the three of us are going to enjoy that. And then the same tool is people sitting in front of their computers for hours, just using the tool for enjoyment, perfecting a song, sharing that song, really going deep in that journey. And I think, if I'm being honest, I am like sometimes very excited by and sometimes slightly afraid that the two use cases are so disparate and that the middle has yet to be kind of discovered.
Got it. Any theories of like what that middle looks like?
I've got lots of theories. I think a lot of it is going to be just figured out by doing it. I think one thing in particular is that the things people do with music are now really, really narrow. Most people are just listening. You listen to a song once, and then you probably almost never return to it. And what we have done is we have opened up a new method of interaction, which is creation for music. And hey, that's enjoyable and much more engaging. And I think what that middle looks like is actually beginning to blend or blur the line between creation and consumption. I think if we do this right, we're not going to really talk about those two things as being different. They will just be doing music, and I will decline to tell you how much of it is creation and how much of it is consumption.
Got it.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. And I really like the vision of the collaborative aspects of that that just become an activity you do, right, as a group of friends, for example. Yeah. Can you kind of both talk like?
So, this is where I get a little bit skeptical. I obviously I'm bullish on AI art being everywhere, and that it potentially becoming like a very common thing, and I do think that there is a world where like people are creating AI art, be it music or vision or film or imagery or whatever. I see that around the corner, I feel. At the same time, like as a music lover, I'm kind of like, what does that look like in a concert experience? I mean, most of the money, especially that musicians are making, are in a concert experience. So is it going to be the scenario that I go to a concert, I listen to, let's say, Grimes being a great example because she's, open sourced essentially her sound, and allowed anybody to remix it or use it for AI or do whatever. Like, is it a scenario where I go and I hang out at a Grimes concert and there's like a booth somewhere or in an app that I downloaded that's associated with the music festival that I can now remix a version of her song that I can take home with me that represents maybe a moment that I had, because I got drunk with some friends on the side and this song was representative of this particular moment when she was playing that particular, like, I don't know, what does that look like, right? Or is it the scenario that I'm going to a music festival and the entirety of the music is AI music? Probably not going to happen. I mean, people come out to shows that are, because Max Cooper's in town or Fred again or whatever. Like, people go to concerts because of brands or people that they like. Are people going to like large music things for like a musical experience that is promised? I don't think so. And so this is where I get a little bit skeptical of what this vision might be. So on one side, I see it in the living room. I could see like people in the family, maybe friends hanging out. Maybe it's like a board game, right? Like our type of board game where I'm hanging out with friends and we're creating songs and we're competing in that type of environment in person. Do I see it where on a regular basis, the average person is like pulling out their phone and creating a song about their day? Maybe not, or maybe it is true. Maybe that is going to happen because it's going to help with memory. So I don't know. I'm thinking out loud here, and I do see this world where AI is going to supplement our experience in particular ways, where I'm going to allow the AI to listen to me, right, with agents and note-taking apps and all of that, and these devices that listen in all the time or take pictures all the time. So how does that reverse into, hey, I want AI to make a song for me every month that represents what I did this month so that I'm jogging my memory about what happened this month. Like, maybe that's how that looks, right? So on one side, I think Mikey Shulmann here is pushing us to think differently about how music is interactive in our daily lives. At the same time, I'm kind of, how does this fit into the usual experience of music? I'm in the car, I'm in the radio, I listen to my favorite playlist on Spotify. Then I go to a concert, a music festival of my favorite, of my favorite musicians. It's a different kind of mentality, right? So it pushes me to think a little bit. Lastly, we'll jump into this last quote from the interview here.
Trying to build toward a future of music that is far bigger than it is today. The analogy that we'll make is like, look at the video game industry. I don't play a lot of video games. These are rich and engaging experiences that people have, and that is why they are willing to shell out a lot of money for them. They are really valuable experiences. And music today is mostly just listened to and is not valuable. People don't like paying a lot for it. The only exception there is live music, which is an experience. And I think if we think about this through that lens, a world where music is a much bigger part of people's lives, where people are doing more than just passively listening, where they are active participants in it, it will be more valuable to them, and they will want to do more of it, and they will want to pay more for these experiences. And in that sense, it is an industry where there's a lot of fixed pie mentality, and I think if we can break that, we will all be happier.
You agree on the image?
So that's quite a thesis that he's got going on there. He's basically saying, hey, look, not only will interactive, fun music experiences result in people valuing that music more, but they'll also pay more for it, which is kind of an interesting thesis. Like, is he imagining a world where, because I had fun with my kid making a song yesterday, that it will then like go back and make another song tomorrow? Like, maybe that's not going to happen because people's attention spans are so short, right? Like, how many times are you going to want to create a song for yourself? That to me is a challenge to what he's saying here. At the same time, again, back to what I was saying, like, do I want to create more music for myself that represents, something about me that's representative of me, representative of a style of music that I like, et cetera, et cetera? Maybe that is happening, and I'm not seeing that quite yet. And who knows? I mean, he said here, right, that there's 10 million people that are using Suno, right? Is that expanding? I think, there's a few competitors in the space now, right? UDO, Suno, and a few others that have been dropping. They are all incentivized to grow that pot and to make that experience more fun, to make the music that is output better. And at the same time, that's going to rub up against a music industry that is currently, and has in a lot of ways always been kind of like tough, right? Like, there's a reason why the Napster was such a big issue, and eventually iTunes kind of saved it a little bit, but not really, right? Like, it's still accrued to whatever that best 1% or top 10% of musicians are. And so does what Suno is doing and UDO and these other music AI tools result in a larger pot? I'm not sure. I hope so, right? I hope that as a result of, more interactive, self-created AI music, it results in not only valuing that type of music more, as well as the type of music that's created by real human professionals. And I think this is always going to be this dynamic, right, with AI professionals and AI casual creators. It's going to be interesting because and I wonder if we look at the analog of, let's say, what happened with the studios and Netflix and they, which I kind of lump together, versus YouTube, Vimeo, and the creator economy, and how those two things, or those two universes, have kind of contracted or converged, and what resulted, right? Like, Mr. Beast is his own kind of thing, right? And that's not in the Hollywood ecosystem up until recently with the Amazon show, right? Like, before we have Mr. Beast doing that, we have hundreds, thousands, maybe even a million creators who are making like a good buck on YouTube, not touching the Hollywood ecosystem at all. So does that happen with AI casual creators and music? Big question. Curious what everybody here thinks. And yeah, that's pretty much it for now. We'll come back to this topic again and again and again. So keep following, and I'll find more videos like this. So thanks, guys.